Donning a hulking physique and a fighting spirit that had put many greats of the game to shame, Kimbo Slice was a force of nature. A man so influential that he didn't need gold belts to reach the highest of highs in combat sports.
This dude might just beat the shit out of me and leave. And so we go in, just the nicest guy in the world.
All he needed to do was throw a punch, crack a chin or two, and fans would be hooked. From his humble beginnings in Miami to his rise as one of the most iconic figures in fighting, this is the epic story of Kevin Ferguson.
Cage, we're gonna go man on man, and I'm gonna knock him out.
All we have is 3 suspects wearing scars over their faces.
Kimbo Slice was born in the Bahamas and moved to the United States at a young age, settling in Perrin, Florida with his family. Between extreme poverty and criminal violence in his neighborhood, life was anything but easy for the fighting legend in his early years.
Being in Miami at the time, I had to work at a club, and that was around the time I was homeless.
As a child, Kimbo was very disciplined and compassionate. He was a patient child who'd often forgive those who'd mess with him, like his bullies at school. But soon as someone hurt his loved ones, they'd regret it. After finishing his education, Kimbo worked as a bar bouncer, a limousine driver, and a bodyguard for a pornography production company, Reality Kings. But despite working as a bouncer and a bodyguard, Kimbo found it hard to make ends meet, and street fighting came to his rescue. In 2003, Kimbo decided to take street fighting to another level by recording his fights and distributing them through the internet, mainly through the adult website Sublime Directory, and later on YouTube.
Do you like punching people?
Yeah.
You do? Do you ever feel bad afterwards?
Nah.
You never do?
Nah.
You never?
In his first tape fight against a street fighter called Big D, Kimbo earned his moniker Slice from fans after forcing a brutal cut near the eye of his opponent with a big punch. From then on, Kimbo started to be known as Kimbo Slice. For the next couple of years, Kimbo continued to provide fighters with a platform to display their talents in the streets, backyards, and parking lots. And if it weren't for him, maybe Jorge Masvidal wouldn't be the star that he is today.
Kimbo Slice, rest in peace, was at the same gym that I was training at in Miami, and they were kind enough to they'd see me working out, and they're like, "Hey, you wanna fight?"
Ferguson was naturally impressed with Masvidal's lion-hearted performances, and he made sure that the 18-year-old was looked after as their friendship grew. Within a couple of years of starting his bare-knuckle street fighting initiative, Kimbo rose to unimaginable heights of fame, garnering hundreds of millions of video views and becoming an internet hero.
You know, Kimbo Slice is a street fighter, and actually in a street fight, he fought Sean Gannon and lost in one of those internet street fights. Kimbo Slice would get murdered in the UFC.
In 2005, Kimbo turned to martial arts to improve his street boxing skills. His initial plan was to improve his street fighting game, but the more time he spent in the gym, the more he fell in love with mixed martial arts, and hence, his priorities shifted. After an unsuccessful start to his amateur mixed martial arts career in 2005, Kimbo Slice secured his first victory in an MMA exhibition bout against Ray Mercer, which he won by a submission in less than 80 seconds. A few months later, Kimbo made his professional MMA debut against 9-fight veteran Bo Cantrell at Elite XC in November 2007. As usual, Ferguson came out all guns blazing and rushed towards his opponent, who threw a spinning back fist and missed. Kimbo continued to stalk him down, and as soon as he managed to force Cantrell against the cage, he landed a vicious uppercut that rocked him. Another punch later, Cantrell fell face first onto the canvas, and the fight was over in only 18 seconds. In his second professional fight, Kimbo fought another veteran of the sport, David "Tank" Abbott, at Elite XC. The two ran towards each other as soon as the fight started and immediately exchanged a punch before fighting in the clinch. After separation, Kimbo rocked Tank with a big left hook. The referee intervened and warned Kimbo about throwing illegal shots. The fight resumed, and Kimbo dropped Abbott twice with a couple of huge right hands, before finishing the job with a lightning-fast straight right as the veteran Abbott fell face first onto the mat.
Tank went out on his shield, face down.
Slice had a tough third professional fight when he faced James Thompson in May 2008. Thompson's game plan was clear. He didn't want to stand and trade with a scary, heavy-handed monster, so he went for takedowns and managed to secure one in the last minute. Thompson had a decent amount of control time, but Kimbo eventually got back up to his feet. The two fighters spent the remainder of the first round scrambling, with both gaining top position, although Kimbo ended up the round on top with a punch at the horn. The second round was controlled by Thompson, who wrestled for most of the 5 minutes, although Kimbo had his moments too. By the end of the third round, the two were out of gas. Thompson literally had an empty gas tank and attempted a couple of weak takedowns before getting rocked with a big overhand right and another one. Kimbo landed another couple of big shots, wobbling his foe and forcing the referee to intervene. By then, Slice was Elite XC's cash cow. His popularity was through the roof, and with 3 wins on the trot, he was matched up against the legendary Ken Shamrock.
He has to find a way to beat me. I don't have to find a way to beat him because I believe that I can beat him in anywhere in the fight. And he's only, pretty much in my opinion, he's got one shot.
The fight was scheduled to take place in Sunrise, Florida. Hours before the main event, however, Elite XC suffered a significant setback. Ken Shamrock was out due to an injury, and Seth Petrozelli was brought in as a last-minute replacement. Since the event was built around Kimbo Slice, it went ahead without Shamrock, and Petrozelli was supposed to be a stepping stone. He was anything but. Seconds into their fight, Slice pressed Petrozelli, forced him against the cage, and tried to land his knockout punch, but Petrozelli dropped the king of the web brawlers with a nothing punch before landing an avalanche of strikes to pull off one of the biggest upsets in MMA history. Not only did Petrozelli end Kimbo Slice's aura of invincibility, but also Elite XC, by making controversial comments about the promotion allegedly paying him extra to avoid making certain moves against Slice.
Locker room after a loss that left many MMA fans questioning his skills and toughness, as well as the legitimacy of the fight itself.
Elite XC faced severe backlash, lost its investors, and ultimately folded.
But you don't know the scumbag promoters behind the scenes went in and paid him to not go to the ground. They paid him to stand up. You know why? Because they thought that Kimbo Slice was going to viciously knock him out. But
after the closure of Elite XC, Kimbo was invited by Dana White to take part in the Ultimate Fighter Season 10.
We know Roy's got a tough chin, but we also know he's susceptible for a knockout.
After being eliminated in the first round of Tough by Roy Nelson, Kimbo was handed another opportunity to compete under the UFC banner against Houston Alexander at the Ultimate Fighter finale. The fight was lackluster to say the least, with Slice using his excellent clinch work and takedowns to secure a decision victory.
Nice.
Given his reputation, fans were certainly expecting more, so the UFC gave him another chance to prove his mettle. This time against a major step up in competition in Matt Mitrione at UFC 113. Mitrione looked awkward in the striking and grappling exchanges, but his strategy was a lot more effective, and his skill set was far better than Kimbo's. After getting soundly beaten in every aspect of MMA, Kimbo seemed to have completely shut down in the second round, allowing Mitrione to ground and pound his way to a victory. Kimbo's loss was heartbreaking for the crowd in attendance, who was behind him from the moment he walked out to the fight. But at 36 years old, there was only so much that he could do, especially with busted knees and poor conditioning. In his younger years, maybe Kimbo would have sliced through Mitrione. Nonetheless, that was the last of Kimbo Slice in the UFC, and he took a break from MMA to compete in boxing, where he fought and won 7 times with 6 knockouts. Since most of his wins came against guys who weren't even boxers, Kimbo couldn't reach the same heights of fame in boxing as he did in street fighting and MMA, so he decided to return to mixed martial arts in 2015. Bellator was happy to welcome him back and match him up against the man who indirectly caused him his first career loss, Ken Shamrock. The two locked horns at Bellator 138, and after a few seconds of clinch battle, Shamrock managed to secure a takedown, followed by a back mount. However, he somehow managed to survive and make his way back to his feet. Kimbo hurt Shamrock with big punches and finished him at 2 minutes and 22 seconds of the first round. In his final MMA fight, Kimbo faced Defeer Harris, or Dada 5000, in one of the worst fights in MMA history.
I'm gonna obliviate this dude. When they talk about MMA, he's coming to fight MMA. My definition for MMA, is not mixed martial arts. It's mash, mutilate, and annihilation. And that's what I'm gonna do to Kimbo Slice February 19th when he step inside that Bellator cage.
I know I got a few seconds for the refs to get in there, so I'm gonna go as fast as I could, strong as I can, to end this guy's career.
The sloppy and sluggish fight, which mainly consisted of clinch battles and grappling, didn't give viewers the entertainment they were looking for. Slice won by TKO, and Harris was stretchered off. In the summertime of 2016, just a few weeks before his rematch against James Thompson, Kimbo's health started to deteriorate, leading to his doctor informing him about his heart failure. A few months later, Kimbo would die from heart complications at the age of 42.
And it was the first time he ever said this to me, and I could hear it in his voice. He said, Mike, he was like, I'm scared. And I'd never heard his voice say that.
Kimbo Slice was hardly an elite MMA fighter. He was not even a top 15 one, but he still managed to leave a legendary legacy simply because of the fact that he was a fighter through and through. He'd fight in the streets, backyards, parking lots, boxing rings, MMA cages, and everywhere he could. He was an internet sensation who raked up millions of views and changed the lives of many. And even without any major titles in his trophy cabinet, Kimbo will always remain the people's champion.
I love y'all. Thanks for the love.
Where do you rank Kimbo Slice among the icons of prize fighting? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you liked our video, please show us some love by subscribing and turn on your notifications so we keep bringing you more epic stories from the world of MMA. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.